Lynn M. Hamilton, Florence Nightingale, A Life Inspired. Embark on a captivating journey through the life of Florence Nightingale, the woman who revolutionized nursing and hospital care and inspired a generation. In Florence Nightingale, A Life Inspired, author Lynn M. Hamilton takes us through the ups and downs of Florence's life, from her strict, unconventional upbringing to her life-changing calling to serve God in alleviating human suffering. Witness her tireless dedication and determination to transform the nursing profession and healthcare facilities, overcoming various challenges and societal norms. This summary exposes the profound impact of Nightingale's work and her lasting legacy that continues to inspire change in today's modern healthcare.
A higher calling awaits. Florence Nightingale, despite being born into a wealthy family with high social standing, felt a deep religious calling to serve humanity since her teenage years. Consistently avoiding parties and marriage proposals, she faced her family's expectations and societal norms, standing firm in pursuing her true life purpose. Born to a wealthy family with high intellectual and social expectations, Florence Nightingale and her sister, Partha, were educated under their father, William Edward Nightingale, W.E.N. His devotion and love for his daughters led to a rigorous curriculum covering fields such as history, mathematics, philosophy, and multiple languages. High social standing and their father's involvement in politics meant that the Nightingales were regular attendees at parties, charming everyone with their presence. Deep inside, however, Florence was unsatisfied with her life. At only 16, she underwent a profound experience that would reshape her destiny. She heard the voice of God, calling her to dedicate her life to His work. With no clear instructions about what she was meant to do, Florence decided to eliminate frivolous pursuits like parties and avoid marriage. This decision did not come easily, and it only served to frustrate her mother, Fanny, and bewildered her sister, Partha. For the following decade, Florence agonized over her decision, facing constant matchmaking pressures from her family and numerous suitors. She rejected every proposal, leading to a repetitive cycle of courtship, denial, and despair within the family. Partha, only a year older than Florence, struggled to comprehend her sister's motivations. While it was challenging for Florence, she stayed steadfast in her commitment to a higher calling and resisted the societal norms that could potentially have led her astray. What started as a deep, inexplicable desire to serve would later crystallize into Florence Nightingale's eventual legacy, becoming a nurse and a pioneer in the field, reshaping the way we understand and practice modern nursing. Despite a life filled with expectations and societal pressure, Florence Nightingale heeded the beacon of her divine calling, breaking free from traditional roles befitting her social standing. She chose a challenging path of self-restraint and unwavering determination, driven by the certainty that she was meant for something far more significant and impactful in service to humanity. Answered prayers, Florence's calling. God's calling revealed itself to Florence in her early 20s, leading her to eventually pursue a nursing career. Although the nursing profession was frowned upon and hospitals were unsanitary, Florence felt deep inside that she must help heal the sick. Defying her family and society's expectations, she sought to find her purpose. Throughout her life, Florence felt a strong urging to become worthy in God's eyes and to discover how she could serve Him. As time passed, she struggled with her love for beautiful clothes and a busy social life, as she considered them distractions from her spiritual path. Her sister, Partha, felt she was drifting away. When a chance conversation with family friend and Prussian ambassador Baron von Bunsen occurred during her early 20s, the pieces started falling into place. Their discussion about a place called Kaiserswerth, a German institution that trained women to nurse the sick and assist orphan children, struck a chord with Florence. However, it would take another 6 years for her to visit Kaiserswerth. In the meantime, Florence started to experience her calling by caring for her sick grandmother, Mrs. Shore, and their family nursemaid named Mrs. Gale, who sadly passed away while Florence held her hand. By the spring of 1844, she was 24 years old and had clarity about her path. Nursing was her calling, and it was to heal and comfort the sick where she must dedicate her life. This career choice didn't sit well with her family. Nursing at the time was considered an unsavory profession, with nurses infamous for their promiscuity and drunken behavior. The role of a modern-day nurse was non-existent, and hospitals were dirty and disease-ridden, housing the desperate poor. A job in nursing wasn't deemed fitting for someone from Florence's social background. Despite her family's disapproval, Florence believed in her calling. Her mother refused to let her become a nurse, and her sister Partha was horrified at the thought of Florence working in London's squalid hospitals. The agony of knowing her path but being unable to follow it led Florence to feel a deep longing for death, with no escape from her mother's controlling grip. However, she refused to give up on her vocation, knowing it was her true purpose in life. Florence's path to public health. Florence Nightingale, having found her passion for public health, faced challenges arising from her family's expectations and societal norms. Encouraged by her family friend Lord Ashley, later known as Lord Shaftesbury, Florence secretly immersed herself in studies about hospitals and public health. Her thirst for knowledge led her to become one of the most knowledgeable individuals on the subject in Europe. During a family trip to Italy, Florence became close to Sidney Herbert, a political figure who shared her interest in public health. The Herbert supported Florence's desire to further her studies. Despite setbacks in her depression, she remained dedicated to her calling. Florence Nightingale, driven by a profound sense of purpose and determination, found support from understanding friends and family members. Among them was Lord Ashley, a social reformer, who encouraged Florence to learn about hospitals and public health from books, even if she couldn't directly care for the sick. Delving into her studies, Florence transformed into an authority on hospital care long before her career commenced. Rising before dawn, she meticulously compiled data, statistics, and information. Driven by her passion, she contacted officials across France, Germany, and Italy to compare public health initiatives, drawing on this knowledge to become recognized as one of Europe's leading experts on the subject. While Florence excelled academically, her inability to fulfill her dream of directly caring for the sick took a toll on her mental health. Long periods of unhappiness led her to fall into a deep depression. During these challenging times, she found solace in her friendships and traveling adventures. In 1847, Florence journeyed alongside her family to Italy, where she visited Rome and marveled at the artwork in the Sistine Chapel. It was in Rome that she forged a relationship with Sidney Herbert and his wife, Liz, a well-to-do English family with interests in philanthropy, social work, and public health initiatives. The Herberts were quick to recognize that Florence shared their goals, and they soon discovered her expertise in public health. With the Herbert support, Florence expressed her ambition to attend the Kaiserswerth Institute in Germany to further her studies. However, political unrest in Germany made travel impossible, causing Florence's depression to resurface. Despite her mother's frustration and a marriage proposal from a charming suitor, Florence held firm in her dedication to her calling, refusing to let any obstacles steer her away from her chosen path. The turning point for Florence. The year 1849 was especially challenging for Florence Nightingale, as personal struggles and familial tensions intensified. However, with the help of a family friend, Selina Bracebridge, she embarked on a trip to Egypt with the Bracebridges, which rekindled her passion for nursing. During this journey, she visited Germany and the Kaiserswerth Institute, which signified the beginning of her determination and ultimate separation from her family as she pursued nursing as her life's work. In 1849, Florence Nightingale's life was filled with trials and tribulations. She saw herself drifting away from her purpose and confronted widening rifts with her sister, Partha, and a deep resentment towards her mother. As Florence's despair reached a breaking point, fortunately, a family friend, Selina Bracebridge, intervened. At the beginning of 1850, Florence joined the Bracebridge family on a trip to Egypt. Selina took advantage of the opportunity to take Florence to Germany and introduce her to the Kaiserswerth Institute. Once in Berlin, Florence found inspiration and a sense of fulfillment in visiting local hospitals and charity wards. Her 2-week stay at Kaiserswerth reignited Florence's passion for nursing and left her more determined than ever to pursue this path. Upon her return, Florence faced her mother's wrath, but remained resolute. With the support of influential families like the Herberts, Bracebridges, and Bunsens, she could no longer be deterred by her mother and sister's resistance. In 1851, she once again headed to Germany's Kaiserswerth Institute for further training in nursing. Despite her family's accompanying her on the trip, their disapproval never waned. Florence demonstrated exceptional skills in her training in the hospital, even receiving high praise from the institute's pastor. However, her accomplishments did little to ease the resentment and animosity from her mother and sister. After turning 30, Florence Nightingale chose to separate from her family in pursuit of her passion for nursing. Efforts to make her family understand her career path proved futile, but Florence's life soon took a fortuitous turn. Through her connections, she was recommended for the position of superintendent at the Institution for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen in Distressed Circumstances. Despite her sister's emotional outburst, Florence finally embarked on her destined career in nursing. This decision marked the pivotal moment when Florence Nightingale solidified her commitment to a life of service, undeterred by any obstacles in her way. Nightingale's path to reform. In the early 1850s, Florence Nightingale gained valuable experience in hospital administration by taking charge of the Institution for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen. Despite challenges such as financial mismanagement and conflicts with the committee, she effectively organized the staff, improved the accounts, and streamlined supplies. Concurrently, Nightingale assessed local hospitals and shared her insights with Sidney Herbert, a key advocate for hospital reform. However, the outbreak of the Crimean War redirected her focus as Herbert, then Secretary at War, asked her to lead a group of nurses in response to the British Army's medical crisis. Florence Nightingale's journey to becoming a renowned nurse began in 1854, as she honed her skills through hands-on experiences. After training with the Sisters of Charity in Paris and visiting Irish hospitals, she took up the challenge of restructuring the Institution for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen. The institution faced numerous issues, including financial mismanagement and disagreements between the committee and administration. Nightingale's problem-solving abilities shone through as she navigated conflicts like the committee's attempt to bar Catholic patients. She organized the staff, sorted the accounts, and ensured necessary supplies were readily available. Thrilled with her progress, she also took it upon herself to evaluate various hospitals, paying particular attention to nursing conditions. Her discoveries were shared with Sidney Herbert, an influential figure in the possibility of hospital reform. As 1854 began, Nightingale hoped to advocate for hospital reform in England. However, the rising tension between England, France, and Russia culminated in the Crimean War. The battlefield presented a new challenge, with Sidney Herbert now responsible for the British Army's medical facilities as the Secretary at War. Reports of appalling conditions for wounded soldiers soon emerged, revealing a lack of organization and administration. Bureaucratic obstacles led to poor care and unnecessary deaths. Herbert, appalled by the news, took immediate action. He provided an open account to the British ambassador in Constantinople to purchase essential hospital supplies and requested Florence Nightingale's assistance. He asked her to lead a group of nurses to the front lines, addressing the dire medical situation faced by the British Army. Thus, Florence Nightingale's pursuit of hospital reform was postponed, as the urgent needs of the Crimean War demanded her attention and expertise. Little did she know that her efforts in the war would contribute significantly to her reputation and pave the way for future reform. Nightingale's quest for change. Florence Nightingale accepted the challenge to lead a team of nurses to Crimea, determined to make a difference in the appalling conditions of military hospitals. Aware of the significance of her role, she quickly overcame bureaucratic hurdles and disbelief from doctors, ultimately winning their trust and improving the hospital conditions, helping to reshape the field of nursing forever. Florence Nightingale sensed an opportunity for change. Upon accepting Sidney Herbert's offer, she became the superintendent of the female nursing establishment of the English General Hospitals in Turkey, a title never before held by any British woman. Assembling a team of 40 proficient nurses in record time, they set sail for Scutari, a battlefield hospital in Turkey, on October 21, 1854. Arriving in November, the daunting situation at Scutari revealed itself. The building, infested with vermin and reeking of a nauseating stench, was a sanitation disaster. Patients lay wallowing in their filth, a clear lack of supplies, clean water, and food only exacerbated their pain. Being situated in the heart of the Crimean War, it became evident that the unnecessary loss of life was not due to battle wounds but the dire conditions and bureaucratic challenges at the hospital. Seeking to make an immediate impact, Florence soon discovered that the British military's bureaucracy was a major impediment to change. The medical department, the purveyors department, and the commissariat collectively oversaw hospitals, making requisitions a long-winded affair. Obtaining necessary supplies, such as clean blankets, required navigating a maze of red tape, complicating Nightingale's mission further. In addition, traditional disdain towards nurses resulted in skeptical army doctors, hesitant to grant them permission to begin work. Nightingale recognized the urgency to win their trust before diving into action. Acting impetuously would risk jeopardizing the mission and hopes to revolutionize the field of nursing. Demonstrating patience and determination, Florence led her team with finesse, eventually gaining the support of doctors and circumventing bureaucracy. They were granted the opportunity to address the myriad of hospital issues, which primarily arose from the lack of sanitary discipline within the army establishment. Step by step, Florence Nightingale and her team of skilled nurses tackled the unacceptable conditions in Scutari and ultimately made a significant improvement in patient care. In turn, they reshaped nursing's image and the importance of their expertise on the battlefield and within the healthcare system at large. Nightingale revolutionizing healthcare. Florence Nightingale and her team of nurses, despite initial resistance from army doctors, managed to revolutionize healthcare conditions for British soldiers during the Crimean War. Committed to sanitation and organization, they not only cared for patients but also addressed underlying health issues, ultimately gaining respect and admiration. Nightingale's detailed reports and dedicated work did not go unnoticed, even reaching Queen Victoria. Florence Nightingale arrived in Scutari with her team of nurses to care for wounded British soldiers during the Crimean War. Initially, they faced resistance from army doctors but kept themselves busy by mending clothes and organizing supplies. Nightingale, using her own money, brought in much-needed resources like portable stoves and beef essences to make meals for the soldiers. The turning point came on November 9, 1854, when an influx of sick and wounded soldiers poured into Scutari after a brutal battle in Sebastopol. The nurses were finally allowed to care for the patients, and they set out to prove their worth. Nightingale understood that most casualties resulted from dysentery, cholera, scurvy, and other chronic conditions rather than battlefield injuries. With her team, she focused on improving sanitation and medical care in the Scutari hospital. The nurses quickly gained respect and admiration from army doctors, who noticed that they not only cared for patients but also excelled in treating wounds. Nightingale secured supplies from Constantinople and set up a tightly monitored store, ensuring that nothing was wasted or used without authorization. She also hired local workers to repair the hospital, unblock drains, and install a water pump, effectively creating space for hundreds of additional beds and improving sanitary conditions. Throughout this process, Nightingale meticulously documented her work and sent regular reports to Sidney Herbert, a British politician committed to military reform. Her efforts caught the attention of even Queen Victoria, who diligently followed Nightingale's progress. As a result of her unwavering dedication and innovative approach, Florence Nightingale revolutionized healthcare and improved the lives of countless soldiers. Transforming nursing through adversity. In the face of hardships, Florence Nightingale's relentless pursuit of improving conditions in military hospitals revolutionized nursing standards. Under her guidance, the treatment of soldiers shifted away from disdain and provided them with healing environments. Nightingale's compassionate work mended the nursing profession's poor reputation and elevated it to a noble vocation. Yet, despite the fame, she remained humble and focused on using her influence to advocate for lasting healthcare reforms. Florence Nightingale, even amidst the challenges of her time, pressed onward to reform Britain's army hospital conditions. Her meticulous attention to details like supplying appropriate equipment, maintaining hygiene, and ensuring secure storage led to practical improvements. She refuted the idea that soldiers were merely drunken brutes and championed patients' well-being by advocating reading in game rooms to promote recovery. Thanks to her strong convictions and unyielding approach, Nightingale and her nurses delivered compassionate care, transforming sickbeds into havens for soldiers seeking solace. Sleep was a luxury for Nightingale, who spent her waking hours tending to patients, documenting observations, or penning letters and reports. In doing so, she transformed the nursing profession's unfavorable reputation from reviled, debauched women to dignified, caring individuals who alleviated suffering. Captivated by her toil, the British public revered nurses as the embodiment of Nightingale's spirit, the lady with the lamp. However, she shunned the fame that her work attracted, preferring an anonymous return to her family home after the war. The haunting memories of the lives she couldn't save fueled her resolutions. Rather than rest on her accomplishments, Nightingale channeled the heartbreak, pledging to reform healthcare and prevent future soldiers from suffering a similar fate. Nightingale's unwavering commitment to change, coupled with determined empathy, fostered a transformative movement in nursing and healthcare. Even in the face of adversity, she embodied the essence of compassion, igniting the power of change within the nursing profession. Nightingale's persistent influence. Florence Nightingale, after captivating Queen Victoria with her persuasiveness, was instrumental in launching the Royal Commission to investigate the Crimean War's casualties. Despite facing physical and mental setbacks, she continued to push for hospital and sanitation reform, eventually founding her own nursing school. Nightingale's efforts in health policy, nursing education, and hospital modernization left an indelible mark on her field. In her later years, she finally found satisfaction in her accomplishments and peace with her family before her quiet, unassuming passing. When Florence Nightingale personally met Queen Victoria, the Queen was thoroughly impressed by Nightingale's charm and persuasive nature. As a result, Queen Victoria initiated the Royal Commission to examine the casualties of the Crimean War. Nightingale's influence didn't stop there. She was pivotal in improving soldiers' conditions in India and driving hospital and sanitation reform. Founding her own nursing school, Nightingale's impact spanned multiple facets of the nursing profession without making any public appearances. Her passion and determination made lasting impressions on people, including doctors, lords, bureaucrats, and even the Crown Princess of Prussia. Struggling with periods of physical and mental decline, Nightingale lived longer than she anticipated and continued advocating for reform throughout her life. Initially, she was critical of half measures and viewed partial legislative victories as defeats. However, as she aged, she began to appreciate her accomplishments and developed warmer relationships with herself and those around her. Before her death, Nightingale reconciled with her family, outliving her parents and sister. Despite her numerous contributions, she rejected calls to immortalize her during her lifetime. Even in death, she sought a humble tribute, a headstone featuring only her initials and years of birth and death. Nightingale's modest burial site in East Wellow, marked F.N., born 1820. Died 1910, silently honors a legacy that revolutionized the nursing profession and improved medical care for generations to come.
Florence Nightingale's inspiring journey shows us how one person's dedication and effort can bring forth remarkable changes in society, healthcare, and the perception of a profession. Shortly after overcoming her own struggles and tirelessly advocating for reforms in nursing, hospitals, and sanitation, she became a force for change in military field hospitals and laid the foundation for modern nursing practices. Her unwavering commitment and passion to improve the lives of the sick and helpless signified the power of determination in overcoming obstacles and redefining societal standards. Though her efforts were often misunderstood by her family and peers, Nightingale's legacy carries on today and continues to inspire generations in setting new standards for healthcare and nursing.